Welcome to the great indoors. In an age where technology is accelerating faster than our ability to fully comprehend it, the great indoors returns to a place that has become something of an annual pilgrimage for the global connectivity industry. That place, of course, is Barcelona. And each year, Mobile World Congress transforms this city into the crossroads and epicenter of the digital world. Operators, innovators, policymakers, startups, and technologists descend on the Catalan capital to debate the future of connectivity. And this year, the halls are buzzing with talk of agentic AI, humanoid robots, and a sense that artificial intelligence is no longer theoretical or speculative. It's physical, tangible, and increasingly embedded in the devices and networks all around us. But amid all the noise and spectacle, the great indoors remains focused on something simpler and far more enduring. The people behind this future, or building this future, and the stories behind the technology. Because in a world increasingly curated by algorithms, storytelling is still one of the few places where insight, experience, and human perspective come together. So I'm your host, Matthew Roberts, and as always and ever, I'm joined by my trusty and reliable producer, the one and only Larissa Yee. So today, episode 2 of season 12, our guest holds a rather unique distinction on this podcast. This is her 5th appearance on the Great Indoors, if I'm counting correctly, which officially makes her the undisputed leader in guest appearances. And frankly, given the role she plays in shaping one of the most important technology gatherings in the world, it feels entirely appropriate. As the Chief Marketing Officer of the GSMA, she sits at the center of an industry that now connects billions of people and convenes more than 100,000 leaders each year here in Barcelona to debate the future of technology, policy, and global connectivity. So joining us once again, always my favorite part of the week and my favorite part of the MWC seasons, joining us live in Barcelona from Mobile World Congress and defending quite rightly her title as the most frequented guest in TGI history is the Chief Marketing Officer of the GSMA, Ms. Lara Dewarr.
So welcome back to the Great Indoors, Season 12, MWC 2026. We're in Barcelona again. It's been a heck of a week. And I'm really excited and honored to welcome back one of our most frequented visitors and guests, the Chief Marketing Officer of the GSMA, Lara Dewarr. Welcome back, Lara. And by the way, I think this is the first time we've met at the end of the event. So there's probably more that we can look back on and talk about. But let's start with, it's 20 years in Barcelona. Congratulations. Thanks. I remember the first one.
Do you?
Has there been a celebration this week? Has it been a milestone?
There has. In fact, leading up, we've had opportunity, of course, to meet with key stakeholders in Barcelona, as I've chatted with you before. An event like MWC doesn't come together without an incredibly strong private-public partnership. 100,000 people descend in the city of Barcelona. And so we've had opportunity to meet with various stakeholders and to celebrate. And I think that 20 years is a reflection that this private-public partnership is probably one of the strongest as far as evidence of how these things can work when they're done well.
Every year, it seems to get bigger. Every year, it seems to get stronger. Every year, it seems to get more interesting. But looking back, what's been the big theme for you this week, Lara?
The number of robots. Robots are everywhere. That's a real growing trend at the moment.
Yeah.
Around the dexterity, the humanoid robots, and different applications and use cases for robots.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
In the last couple of years, we've talked about AI and focused on large language models and the software. But this is when you see the robots and some of the hardware, it's a physical manifestation of AI right now. And I have some thoughts on it, but it has definitely been the theme, right? Or one of the key themes.
Yeah. And would you be disappointed if I didn't point out that they all require 5G networks to work?
Well, that's good. I was speaking to Don McGuire.
Yeah.
And they announced their 6G this week. And I think for years we've had 5G, 5G, 5G. But when he told me his story for 6G, it was enabling that physical robotic manifest. So that might be the anchor piece for this,
For the next
for the
generation.
next iteration. So yeah, so 6G, robots, physical AI, the realization that AI is here for real. It's not just the hype term anymore. Another thing, and as a CMO, that I'd like to ask you, and it's come up in many conversations, is there a duality in you as a CMO having to use this technology to make your organization more productive and better, as well at the same time being part of the industry that's marketing this technology? It's kind of a duality of thoughts that you have to go through. Is that something that you're thinking about?
I don't know if I would call it a tension, but there is definitely a duality to it. So at the GSMA, we're going through some transformative thinking from a marketing perspective, rationalizing systems and tools, and looking for places where it makes sense to layer in the right AI tool. There's lots of things available. They don't all do the same thing. And it's not as simple as saying, have Copilot write stuff for you. It's not that simple. So we are looking for ways to employ it, because I also think if you need to be able to walk the talk, right? So we can't talk about it externally if we're not doing it internally, and reducing barriers to change and making sure that rollouts are safe and that our brand remains authentic, all the safeguards that are required. And then talking about it from an industry perspective around what it means for operators. Again, everything from improving efficiencies in networks to how it's being layered into fraud and security. Lots of information this week on fraud and scams. And then through to what are the new services and products we're developing in order to give ourselves competitive advantage. So that whole kind of life cycle, if you like.
Yeah. And has it come up this week because it caused the markets to rock the last month or so, or SaaSmageddon, as they were calling it, but the notion of vibe coding, is that something that's come up in conversation? Because surprisingly, I thought that would be, a lot of people would be talking about that, but not at all, not even with analysts I spoke with.
Not that I've heard, actually, so that's really interesting. Now, we do a series of tech summits. We've had 14 different summits, many of them focused around various themes relative to AI. So there's the potential that has come up there, but certainly in the coverage of the event and the people that I'm speaking with, our keynote stages, we're not hearing.
No, I'm not. I wasn't. I wasn't, which was surprising. Anyway, let's go talk about those events. So from the GSMA perspective, obviously this is the flagship, but you've had some new events launch in the last 12 months. How's the outlook for your yearly schedule of things shaping up, and what's new on the horizon?
It's actually so exciting. Can I share a little bit about this show, just for context?
Yep.
So we will have 2,900, 3,000 exhibitors here this week. We also have a very vibrant startup community where there's 300 exhibitors, many thousands of people, and billions of dollars of investment represented, where we try to match founders and innovations with VCs and investment. Then we have our thought leadership program. So those summits that I just mentioned are incorporated there, but we have 24 stages and 1,700 speakers this week.
Wow.
Over 1,700 speakers. And again, AI's part of almost every single one of those conversations, I would posit. And then the other element of our show is the ministerial program. So behind the veil stuff, where we've got almost 200 country and governmental organizations that meet to talk about the policies that impact or are being discussed relative to the technology that we're seeing on the show floor. So again, a bit of a life cycle around the themes that are generated by this industry. So policymakers will be discussing things like fraud and scams, privacy, online safety for children, taxation, when in every region it's different. So this, like you said, is the flagship. This is where we start the year in Barcelona. And then we've created events over the course of the year where we think it's meaningful. So We will next go to Kigali. That is a show that grew out of a regional need in Africa. It is very policy oriented. The market in Africa is very different.
Of course.
The challenges that they're working through, the usage gap, digital skilling of the population, very real in that context. And so you'll see a lot of the themes be relevant for that market. And then we go to Shanghai. And Shanghai is I would call it a global show that is based in China. And what that means is you can go there and see everything that is emerging out of China. So the technology on display there is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Really an important show, but not global in the sense that we realize there's a geopolitic that means not everyone can come, but certainly from the region. And a lot of very cool things on display there. We'll probably have 50,000 people in Shanghai.
Wow.
So it's a big show.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, we'll finish with Doha. So very aggressive digital policies and digital ambition in the Middle East. And so we will wrap up in Doha. And again, really excited to be there. Last year was the inaugural show. And it was kind of blew our minds from a success point of view. So very much looking forward to be back there. And we are partnering. This year we are co-locating with the ITU's plenipotentiary. So it means that there's already a full deck of ministers on site for those meetings. And so we're looking for ways and working together on how we cross-pollinate agendas and offer real value back to attendees. So very, very excited. And then there's country and regional events.
No, but I always remember the quote that you said on the show maybe a year ago. It was the GSMA or this event is like the UN and a trade show. And it brings together all the different factors that constitute the industry. It's not just about people selling products or people selling new products. In this age of AI and geopolitical strife, do you feel that the policymakers and regulators are ahead of it? Are they? Because I always feel that with social media, particularly, we're talking nearly 20 years ago, and even internet regulation, which was right at the infancy of the internet boom and still hasn't really caught up. Do you feel that discussion is more pronounced and more forward-looking in dealing with many of the issues we know that AI in particular could throw up?
Yeah, that's right. You're exactly right. The show is multifaceted. And so it's not like another trade show. It's a very unique USP, but I would say that because I'm the chief marketer. What I would also say is it's a show where a lot of business gets done. You and I were talking about this earlier. Your meeting rooms and your booth have been full all week. So this is about people getting their pipeline full in a really efficient way for the year. And everyone I'm talking to is saying how busy they are. If I go back to the policy discussion, what I would say is exactly like you've referenced with the internet, it does seem like policymakers are racing to catch up to the technological advance versus being ahead of it. And so I don't think that's lack of vision. I think that is because technology is moving so quickly. And again, most people that I'm talking to are saying, if you thought the internet moved fast, AI is like something we have never experienced as far as how quick it's moving. And so these events where we've got policymakers together talking and educating them, frankly. So capacity building to some degree. It's important that we're all here rubbing shoulders together because it is a bit of a lag, the policy piece. So we've got to be bringing them into this midst and showing them what this looks like and creating the vision for what policy and regulation needs to look like together. That's the aim.
We talked about some of the themes of this week, but what was one moment or something somebody said or one just element of the show that will stick with you when you leave?
Oh, that's always so hard for me to distill down. I think if I think about the keynotes that I got to experience, I will say that listening to Con Terziolu from Lyon, he's just such a bold communicator. In a whole class of MNO CEOs who are, again, in their own context, facing very different circumstances. This is a man who has businesses in countries in conflict, countries with a large usage gap, and he's able to somehow build an organization that is responding very locally to circumstances while still creating a very global vision for moving from telco to techco. And I would say he's done it. And so I look at that and I'm incredibly inspired.
Yeah.
And the one probably statistic that feels like a real standout to me is that as much as we're all talking about AI and large language models, there are 7,000 languages not represented or reflected currently in AI.
Wow. Okay.
And so how do we work towards not creating yet another gap from an AI perspective? We've got to address the 3.6 or 3.8 billion people who have access to the mobile internet but don't because handsets are unaffordable, because they lack digital literacy, because they're afraid to get online. How do we address that so that we're not leaving people out? And part of that is content that's relevant. So we've really, there's a real, I think, a rallying cry to make sure that we've got AI that represents local markets. And I don't think you can take, for example, Western AI and layer it over a continent as complex as Africa and say problem solved. We need African AI for Africans and the same in other contexts. So I'm looking forward to seeing how leaders and founders and innovators are rising currently to that challenge.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. That's really cool. And what would be, if we're back here next year, like deja vu again, like it has been,
Can't get rid of me.
What would be the big thing you would want to see, not expect to see? We're back here 12 months and we look at developments on the show floor, or what would be something that you'd say, okay, that's really, really awesome. That's where we want it to go.
We have a really cool installation this year, Airport of the Future, where you can see connectivity come to life. And because a lot of us travel to get here, a lot of us are travelers. We transit through airports. That's been a very cool way of taking something that sometimes feels not tangible and creating a tangible use case that we bring to life for people.
Yeah.
Incredibly helpful for people like policymakers who are trying to get their heads around what this looks like. So I would like to see us determine another vertical where we can do that, where we can bring connectivity to life in a meaningful way and bring people in behind. Like, what does it look like when your bag gets tagged at an airport? Where does it go? What happens to it? What is the new technology available for that? So I think having another industry alongside of us to build something like that would be very cool.
Healthcare.
Yes, that's what, in fact, when I do have this conversation this week, that's what everyone's saying, is that the next thing needs to be health. You need to bring that to life.
You can have a hospital of the future.
100%. And the challenge with healthcare, of course, is it's a very disparate industry. In countries, you have agencies not working together. So it is not a big connected industry that's easy to get our arms around. So I think the challenge of it would be cool. But I also think because it is a very real issue in most countries where the infrastructure relative to healthcare is burgeoning under the weight of requirement, that it would be a helpful one, aspirational for sure.
And I think it's brilliant. And I think that would be an incredible thing to see. I love the airport of the future, but to be able to then, again, have a physical representation of those use cases that affect the sector and rotate it is brilliant, because the healthcare use cases have come up all week.
Yeah.
One of the ones I loved, and it was glasses. So you see the Ray-Bans glasses, people are recording things and everything. But the use case came up that AI will allow the glasses to adapt to your prescription dynamically.
Wow.
So you just go buy your glasses and then it will know and adapt to the requirements. And even speaking with Verizon this week, healthcare kept coming up.
Yeah.
But I think that could be a real key one. That would be really good to see.
Actually, you bring up an important point. There's a lot of wearables on the show floor this year. There's a lot of what is the next device? So when we think about the 20 years, probably when the show started, I don't know, I think the DG from GSMA, Vivek Badranath, said in his opening keynote, the big phone at the time was the Motorola Razr.
It's mine.
Yeah, I remember having that phone.
Yeah.
I'm Canadian, so in Canada, there was a version of it that was bright pink.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest device on the planet at
That
the
was
time.
my product at Motorola. I launched that
incredible.
product.
I loved that product.
Yeah.
So when you think about where the mobile phone has come to, the smartphone, it's now my life in the palm of my hand. If I lost it, there'd be chaos in my life for a few hours at least.
Yeah.
And so now what's the next thing? Whether it's glasses or a headset or some kind of lapel pin, I'm not sure. What I would encourage device makers about right now is, if you're going to build prototypes, could you please build them for women and for men? I have seen more prototypes where I'm getting apologized to that they're currently designed with men in mind. You're leaving out half the market, and it's a miss.
I had a guest on the podcast 2 months ago, Joanna Frankel, and her whole thing is that healthcare in general is biased towards men.
100%.
And she's lobbying on Capitol Hill to have that corrected. But to your point there, exactly.
Yeah.
From a hardware, even from a data perspective, a pharmaceutical perspective, she said it's completely skewed towards men.
Don't even get me started on pharmaceuticals. The danger for women when things aren't tested properly for physiology. I mean, it's dangerous.
And
not just oversight. It's dangerous.
And going back to your point on hardware, I remember 20 years ago when the show first came to Barcelona, I was at Motorola. And this was the show where we launched our new hardware. This was the show where LG, Nokia, Motorola, Siemens, Sony Ericsson, most of them are no longer with us, but this was the show that was all about hardware, never software. And then it's gone through various transitions and obviously networks and 5G, and that was a big theme. And then devices became homogenous. So to your point before, this show could go all the way around full circle and become the hotbed for the new hardware again. Yeah. Because even here on Honor, I can see some of the new cool stuff. And O'Donnell's talking about it on Qualcomm. I think you're absolutely right. Hardware could be about to make a big comeback at the show, and it's cool, right?
Yeah, especially when you look all the way through to the robots on the floor. And there are advancements, really smart companies like Honor that you mentioned that are building well-being tools into their devices, which I just think is, again, that is a topic in culture that we're talking about. Online safety, we're talking about mental well-being and how much time we're spending on our devices. And so companies that are being really thoughtful about those aspects of devices, I think, will win the future.
And I think that theme, you could almost have that theme, and I think it's a brilliant point that you make, Lara, but you have the healthcare of the future infused with the well-being elements that correct the potential downsides of our digital, I don't want to say addictions, but our over-digitalization.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
That would be so cool. That would be like the remedy and everything.
I feel like I have my marching orders for next year.
Now, I'm conscious of your time. I know you're still on a busy schedule. And you know how we finish these things.
Yes, please.
Okay, TGI to go. Here we go.
TGI to go.
By the way, there's no hockey ones in this. I took them out
okay.
for you.
No curling, no Olympic references.
The Americans be driving me crazy with the hockey business.
I know.
But we won't go there.
Heartbroken Canadian.
So, you can go on vacation straight after here. Are you going to go to Thailand or Indonesia?
I'm going to go to Thailand. I have always wanted to return. I've been there a couple of times, always for business. Yeah. So the stay is never long enough, and would really love to spend some time. And downtime right now at this point in the week sounds lovely.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I'm sure you've eaten lots of tapas, paella this week. When you get back home, are you going to go for sushi or a good Indian takeout?
Oh, that's easy. Sushi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
100%.
Yeah.
We're a big sushi family.
Oh, okay.
It's a big treat in our house.
Yeah, well, my kids are sushi kids.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to go skiing or scuba diving?
skiing, 100%.
Oh, you're
Annual
skiing
trip to
recently.
the Alps.
Yeah.
If I can't get home to the Rockies, then it's the Alps for me. And there's nothing like a good run with fresh powder that forces you to be completely 100% present, which is the way to disconnect for me in my life.
That's your big
That's
your big getaway.
Yeah.
That's cool. But I saw recently you were somewhere nice.
Was.
Italy, I think.
I was in Chamonix, and so when we go to Chamonix, we drive over to Courmayeur, ski Italy side one day. Depending on the year, you can have better snow on one side of Mont Blanc than the other. And then did 2 different resorts in Chamonix. There's a lot of skiing around there, so it's a nice spot to go and have as a base.
But do you prefer the Canadian resorts over the European ones?
You know what I like about the European style skiing? Maybe it's just the people I ski with here, but I find it's a bit more social here, and you get a really good lunch.
Yeah.
But I love Canadian Rockies because I'm a Canadian girl. So.
And the final one, and I've changed this one slightly, baseball or soccer?
Ooh. I don't follow either of those sports. So
You weren't following the Blue Jays, though.
No, I know. I have become a huge rugby fan since moving to the UK. I don't have a particular team, but I love the sport. I think it's really crazy. It's very entertaining to watch as a fan, and I will have big plans for the 14th, which is called Super Saturday, I think, where there's 3 matches in a day. And I mean, I will be in Canada in May. I will get in on a Blue Jays game.
Okay.
Let's be clear, but yeah.
No, my whole family this summer, or last summer, were at the Blue Jays. I'm coaching my sons. I don't know what's happened to me. I've become like a baseball coach. It always, when they hear my accent, they're always like, what? This guy's the coach, and so it's not that credible. But your son's at university in Wales, if I recall.
Yes.
And I'm Welsh, so you need to support the Welsh too.
I know. Well, in rugby, you mean we need to support the Welsh?
Yes, in rugby,
100%.
Yeah.
He's doing so well, and he is loving his life in Wales, which is just an absolute riot. I don't know if I could have predicted that, but we are Scottish background, so there's always this internal dilemma. Are we English fans because that's where we live, or Scottish fans because that's our heritage, or Welsh fans because that's where he now lives? So it makes for interesting watching. We're happy whoever wins is the truth. It's just a great day out.
We have a similar. The World Cup is coming to Toronto in North America this summer.
Yes.
My children will be supporting Canada, but 3 of them were born in England. Their father's Welsh, their mother's Polish, their grandparents live in Germany. they got some identity.
Identity issues.
And they're all sending them the jerseys, so they don't know, but they'll be supporting Canada.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you think back around each family's heritage. Kids today, my kids have this huge advantage of having lived a couple of different places. I feel inordinately grateful for those experiences because it opens the mind and you experience culture. And I realize how rare that is, how special it is that people like you and I have done that we've moved around for work and dragged our families along. And I think it's been good for them.
I think so. And I remember your son here last year. I'm meeting him. So.
Oh, and I've missed him this year because you and I were talking before we started. There's a sense of wonderment when you do this for the first time. And someone at his age especially comes in and he's full of energy and he sees everything as outrageous and amazing and expansion of his own thinking. And I miss having him alongside me, or my daughter alongside me, for that kind of conversation and enthusiasm.
Exactly. Because it's infectious.
The next time they can come with me, it's definitely going to happen.
Well, Lara, it's always a pleasure. It's great to see you again. Thank you very much for putting on the greatest show in the world. We've had a great time here this week. It's been super great for us.
Thank you for being here.
And we'll see you again soon.
It's always good to see you. You're my favorite stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lara.
So thank you for closing out the end of the show. I know it's only episode 2, Lara. Great to have you on the show as always. Great to see you. I look forward to seeing you maybe in Canada this summer. And congratulations on another spectacular event. Literally nothing in the world comes close to this. So thank you very much. Now, for everybody else, please visit our website, amdocs.com/The Great Indoors, where you will find a cornucopia of assets, back episodes related to 6 years of technology podcasting, believe it or not. Please leave a review, rating, forward to a friend even, if you feel so inclined. And we have many more episodes coming from Barcelona. What a week. We're having the tune in next week. And that's all I've got for you this week. So I'm Matthew Roberts in Barcelona for Amdocs, and have a great day wherever you are.